Welcome to another MedTech Gurus podcast, where we meet and discuss trending and educational topics that are important to today's medical technology sales and marketing professionals. Now, it doesn't matter if you're new to the space or if you're a seasoned medical sales and marketing professional. You all have come to the right place. You see, the medical technology world is ever-changing, and MedTech Gurus will help you stay up to date by interviewing experts and opinion leaders. Now, we call them gurus, and they will bring you information, techniques, and strategies that are sure to help you enhance your knowledge and help you bring value to your customers and your company. Now, I'm Sylvester Harris, and I'm pleased to introduce your host for MedTech Gurus, Mr. Tom Hickey.
Hey, what's going on out there, Gurus? This is Tom Hickey, your host of MedTech Gurus, and welcome to episode number 295. In a world where healthcare demands more from fewer resources, standing still isn't an option. Tim Tinnel, Executive Vice President and Chief Operating Officer of IntelliGuard, reveals how automation, AI, and intelligent ecosystems are redefining medication management, boosting patient safety, and cutting through operational chaos. We dig into why innovation must be continuous, how true partnerships drive breakthrough solutions, and what it really takes to future-proof hospitals. If you're ready to learn how today's smartest leaders are reshaping healthcare from the inside out, this episode will change how you think about the future. But before we get into the episode, let's thank our sponsor, Accelerant Consulting. Gurus, the U.S. healthcare delivery system is focused on value more than ever. With that, value analysis teams have become increasingly influential in product decision-making. Here's the problem. How do you help your product stand out to the individuals in the value analysis committee? Let's face it, if they have to come back and ask questions, that can set you back months before you get back on their agenda. How much would that cost you? Let the team at Accelerant Consulting help. They can review or even design your value analysis documents. The result being have a complete document that resonates with the professionals on these teams. Reach out to the experts at Accelerant Consulting today. Check them out at accelerantconsulting.com. That's EXCELERANT consulting.com, and do it today. Okay, Gurus, here it comes, episode number 295. And remember, if you like what you hear, please subscribe, leave a review, and most importantly, tell a friend. Welcome, MedTech Gurus. Today, as I mentioned in the introduction, we have an amazing guest with us, Tim Tinnel, the Executive Vice President and Chief Operating Officer at IntelliGuard, is with us. Tim brings more than 25 years of leadership experience across supply chain, operations, and technology. At IntelliGuard, he's on a mission to create a continuously improving environment of safety around medication decisions, leveraging automation, analytics, and AI to drive measurable performance, improved outcomes, and higher quality of care. He's also a proven expert in vendor relations and operational transformation with a background spanning multiple industries, including medical, pharmaceutical, logistics, and telecom. Tim's leadership style blends engineering discipline with real-world problem-solving, making him a valuable voice in healthcare innovation. Hey, Tim, are you ready to be our guru today?
I am, Tom.
Oh, that's fantastic. We're very excited to have you. So to start off with, just tell us a little bit about you or your family. Tell us something fun or interesting so we can get to know you a little better.
Fantastic. So I'm by education a hardware software engineer. Been married to my wife, Michelle, for over 37 years now. Raised 3 great kids, have 2 fantastic grandkids. And probably an interesting thing would be for the past 20 years, I was a mentor and on the board for a Central Ohio nonprofit aimed at providing STEM or STEAM, the science, technology, engineering, arts, and math opportunities for kids and young adults. The focus of the nonprofit is on FIRST Robotics. It's a organization and annual robotics competition started by the inventor of the Segway, Dean Kamen. And it has grown into a FIRST Lego League for younger kids, FIRST Robotics and FIRST Technology competitions to help teach kids to problem solve around a new challenge every single year. They build robots, write systems of controls, and then compete all in about a 8-week cycle of build time. So it's kind of a microcosm of team learning, planning, and execution. A lot of fun, and have a lot of fun with the kids.
Yeah, that sounds like a lot of fun. I would think what a great practical application, right? You always hear of, gee,
Sure.
that's not going to mean anything to me, right? And all of a sudden you can put them in an environment where, it is meaningful, correct?
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah, I love that. Congratulations. I think
Thank you.
that's awesome. And, Tim, your career spans everything from telecommunications and logistics to medical and pharmaceutical operations. And I'm wondering what experiences from really all those fast-moving industries have had the biggest impact on how you approach medtech today. Can you provide us some insights there?
Sure, Tom. So, like everyone, I think sometimes I ask myself, how did my life path lead me to where I am now? And it's really interesting how all those life experiences really drive that professional persona. And I'd say the common thread in all of these industries would be the volume and velocity of the business and its data. The speed of change, the need to measure things in the smallest increments and determine certain vector paths and velocity paths. And the need to build adaptable processes, technologies, turning data into useful prescriptive information is a challenge in any industry. And being able to use that background to apply to the medtech industry has been a pleasure to be able to help the patients for the clients that we serve.
Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, it strikes me that there's such a volume of data coming from just all sorts of sources, right? I would think it's a challenge to kind of pick and choose and sort some of that out. Is that what you're finding?
Well, we find that the best thing to do is not be too normalizing of that data up front, to try to capture it in its rawest form. And then as technologies change, as AI or machine learning languages, come through, it allows you to go back and get the full value. So sometimes we aren't even sure where some of this data is going to lead us. But we're very sensitive to the fact that data-rich environments create great outcomes for our clients. So you're right that sometimes it can be a challenge to handle all of that, but thankfully there's some great technologies out there that help us support that goal.
Yeah, fantastic. And then, looking at your work at IntelliGuard now, I'm wondering if you can walk us through the mission of the company and then how you're helping health systems improve medication safety, which seems like a daunting task to begin with. But how does your technology help here? Can you give us an overview?
I'd love to. So, as you mentioned, IntelliGuard is a medtech company, and we have what I think is a unique, if not us who mentality. And our mission or our just cause is really to create a world where intelligent information ecosystems empower healthcare providers to be able to focus on patient-centered care. And we found that mission's always been to revolutionize healthcare through either innovative digital or hardware solutions. It could be whether you're leveraging data to improve patient safety, or enhancing patient care through passive OR automation, or streamlining data to empower clinicians to be able to make their jobs easier and more passive. And we've really built our business by actively partnering with our hospital clients to tackle some of their biggest medication management and supply chain challenges. And that's really the goal of IntelliGuard, is to make those partnerships with our customers to be able to solve their big problems in a way that's beneficial to both organizations.
Yeah, it's interesting. And I would think that there's that partnership is maybe a little challenging to set up at first, right? I would think there's a big trust in there, but developing that mission is got to be helpful. Are you finding that to be the case? Are they open, or does it take a little while to develop that trust?
It's a challenge. It helps that we've had great partners. So Folks that are your first, several customers that come along are usually your biggest advocates, and we have definitely some very strong relationships with our customer base. We're told often how there's always a person at the end that they can speak with and bounce problems off of, challenges off of, and that we listen. And it's a humbling experience to have the folks that are so in charge of the care of sometimes even our loved ones, family and people that we know and love us. That it makes it a lot easier to be able to, as a company, lean into those relationships because they have hard jobs, and anything that we can do to ease that for them, we consider that a special type of a relationship and responsibility.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And while I was doing my research, the one thing that really stood out to me was your commitment to creating a continuously improving environment of safety, I think is what the term was. What does that look like in practice? And maybe share an example with what you've seen with this and how that vision came to life inside of a hospital or a medical center. Can you help us out with that?
Sure. So I've heard it, said in almost a cliche way of saying that your customers, your clients are your biggest motivators, right? Their problems are your biggest motivators. But in this case, it really couldn't be more true. The patients we help our clients serve, they're not just nameless faces. As I mentioned, they're sometimes our own families, our friends, those we loved, those that we're loved by. And our motivation is both personal as well as professional. So when we're able to use our technologies to ensure that the right medications are getting to the right patient at the right time, we always know who's at the end of that process, right? Our clients, the hospital and healthcare systems that use our products and solutions, I think they partner with us because we joined them to create innovative solutions to some of their biggest challenges in medication management and inventory and supply chain visibility. One of our products to kind of put a face on it, one of our clients was using one of our earlier product lines, which is used in the pharmacy to create an RFID experience for the pharmacy staff, so they're not having to count medications going into trays. They can do associations that auto counts, slide it into a system that reads these barcode or the RFID instead of having to go through and do barcode management. It'll actually speed that process up. They've been using us for years. And they had an event where they were able to find many vials that had made it into a sewer system within their hospital. Someone was diverting those medications, and they were having a difficult time figuring out where these were being diverted from or how they ended up within that platform, other than knowing that somewhere they were placed into a system and flushed out into this holding area. So they called us in, and the only thing that remained on all those tags was our RFID tag. So all the labeling had gone away. They didn't know what the meds were. They didn't know, what was contained, where they were used. And we were able to tell them exactly where all of these systems were as far as what trays they were in, where in the hospital they were. And we partnered with them to actually design an anesthesia station that used this RFID technology to be able to track those medications at the point of care. So between the pharmacy getting the benefit of the efficiencies of that RFID, tagging and medication management, they were also able to use that in partnering with us in the operating rooms. And that became a flagship product for us because of that relationship with that customer and for our desire to continuously improve that environment of safety for that hospital and for patients to prevent those types of medication tampering or diversion efforts.
Yeah, I love that, because we often talk on our podcast about how important immersion is with your customers and for product development, right? But in this case, it seemed like that immersion, you probably weren't suspecting that would end up into a product, but somehow it did, right?
Yeah, absolutely. We were not And most of the opportunities come that way. When you're really focused on that partnership capability with your customers, and you look at it in that way, that it is a partnership, it's amazing the opportunities that will come up for you to be able to be an effective partner. And these opportunities have been more the rule and not the exception for how we develop our partner strategies, how we develop our product strategies and roadmaps.
Yeah, and it leads me into my next question, because I'm thinking about your team here, right? And keeping your head on a swivel and listening and be situational awareness and all those things that lead into innovation, right? And we often talk about innovation here on this podcast, and it's hard to sustain, right? And I'm just kind of curious what types of strategies you and your team use to cultivate this strong culture of innovation and ensure your team keep that creative edge and stay agile and focused on these real world problems. Can you give us some insights with that?
Certainly, Tom. I believe that it is very difficult for companies to maintain an innovative focus. It's easy to go through those experiences when you're in that kind of entrepreneurship within your organization. And then as you scale the organization, how do you keep that alive? And I believe a lot of it has been our discipline. I think it was Steve Jobs had mentioned that he always emphasized the importance of hiring people who are innovative, right? Willing to create something from nothing. And it starts by the very things that grow our organization, which is understanding the needs of our clients. And their challenges change over time, right? So our ability to stay in step with them and innovate not only what they want, but what our product teams and their experts see as the future of their needs, and not being afraid of leaning into even some initiatives that may not end up past a proof of concept. So not being afraid of investing in those technologies, both digital and hardware systems, to ensure that we evolve in a world that's moving so rapidly. And I think that really is what defines us as an organization, is keeping that curiosity, keeping that partnership, and keeping that desire to do better each day than the day before.
Yeah, I love that. And obviously, you have developed this culture where people can take some risks, right? Where they can come to you and, I'm sure no idea is too crazy. Let's tease that out, right? So did you find that's a little bit challenging in terms of, maybe checking the ego at the door or not getting too siloed with, how you're developing some of these products?
When you pull together a group of folks, you're going to have egos involved. And mostly it's just the ego of the team. Can we as a team actually accomplish more than the individuals that are contributing? So we don't mind egos. Egos get us that sense of confidence that allow us to move certain things forward. But what we don't want is the operational tension to go beyond that tension that creates betterment, right? So the focus has been on solving things in teams, not in silos. So you'll see as we go through our challenges with our customers, we pull in operational folks that are from the industry, whether they're subject matter experts or clinicians, advisory boards, and other folks to help us move it along. And we listen to those people. And then I respect a healthy ego to be able to come in and help us, whatever that expertise that's necessary to move it forward. Somebody with an idea that's willing to be able to push that idea forward and allow their voice to be heard is still very valuable. So as long as you can maintain a trust environment where good intentions are always the assumption, it allows you to be able to move forward without having to walk on eggshells with each other. And I think we've done a very good job of mastering that.
Yeah, for sure. And, I was also intrigued because you've been into some complex big businesses with regulated markets, right? And, you touched on scaling, and I'm wondering if you could share with our gurus out there who are looking to scale their companies, what are some of the best practices you found that are essential when it comes to scaling teams and operations and technologies, especially in the healthcare space? Can you help us out with anything?
I'll try. So I think that the the challenge is that as you go from a small org where everyone knows each other, and especially moments of rapid growth, and we've had our fair share of rapid growth moments where coming out of COVID, especially in that growth of the organization, where you have to be able to build the teams first and foremost by building it with those people who have the ability and willingness to constantly create and put the team and process success over individual recognition. And that's difficult. I think those people who lean into the experts, whether it's our regulatory affairs folks, quality, engineering, product marketing, and so on, working with those subject matter experts, advisory boards, client experts. And I see that that's where a lot of our clients are telling us that what they see from us is whether you're the CEO, you're on the C-suite team, or you're even down into the support groups and teams that support our customers, that focus that we have on delivering the best possible outcomes to them is really what drives us organizationally. Mm-hmm. And I know it's not a detailed formulaic answer to the question, but while you're building those teams out, making sure that the right personalities are coming in to where they do have egos, but they don't have chips that they're trying to shake from past experiences and past bad experiences, and really set them up in that environment where they're valued and allowed to be able to do those things that you hired them for without micromanaging them.
Yeah, that's very helpful, and thank you for that. And then, Tim, also, it seems like everybody's talking about AI and automation these days. Just it's out there everywhere. But your team at IntelliGuard is actually delivering it. Yeah. So I'm just kind of curious how you're using these tools in a practical way to enhance some of the decision making, or reducing errors, or streamlining workflow for your clients. So without giving away trade secrets, can you give us a little bit of insight in terms of, at a high level, what you're doing to help accomplish this?
Sure, Tom. Whether it's driving systems automation or turning data into information, we're allowing our hospital clients to really focus on the patients. I mean, that's really our goal. So to do that, it's true whether it's our Mira Prep pharmacy systems that allow clients to let the systems manage certain tasks so that they can ensure the accuracy and patient safety, or our Mira Care anesthesia stations that passively create very safe environments for anesthesiologists to dispense meds from a smart cabinet that reconciles all the case data, dispenses, administration, without the distraction of manually tracking or documenting. All of this then is building this background data set for languages, machine language, AI language learning to be able to be executed off of these data sets. And it's all passive. So it's allowing these brilliant healthcare workers to work at the top of their license, provide great care to the patient, while our tool sets are doing a lot of the day-to-day tasks that would otherwise take up the time that they need to spend with that end patient and that patient care. So I would say if you're looking at any automation, especially in the healthcare space, that if it's not to support that type of care and that ability to allow these wonderful healthcare workers to operate at a different level, whether it's through nursing, through anesthesia, or the other areas, that's really where that time should be spent to help them do more with less, because they are kind of in that culture of doing more with less.
Yeah, I like that, doing more with less, right? Because we've talked to a number of clinicians on this program, and they talk about, some of these innovations interrupt the workflow, right? And it sounds to me like the elegance of what you're doing is you're finding solutions that can streamline that workflow and save them from hitting that one more button or going to clicking that one more box. Am I heading down the right path with that?
You are, absolutely. So we've learned two things. One is, how do you design a passive system? And what I mean by that is that it seems that some of our technology turns, for example, anesthesiologists, they're responsible for that patient's sedation and health while they're in having a procedure performed. They have to make decisions, prescribe, and administer medications in real time, oftentimes in life-saving ways. If they're distracted at all, you're taking away from their ability to provide that care, right? So if you treat them like checkout clerks where they're having to have a hand scanner or scan, barcode systems, or document things in a way where they're a data entry person, instead of working as an anesthesiologist, it's taking them away from that focus. And I was reading a study recently where every interaction you have that takes your focus off of the focus that you're on costs you from 5 to 15 minutes of focus because your mind's still working on those other things. And you don't want that obviously happening to these highly skilled folks with so much responsibility in their hands. So that has been truly, as you mentioned, the focus of our care is, how do we do this in a way that solves the problems in the most passive way and allow that provider to spend as much time paying attention to that patient on the table.
Yeah, that's phenomenal. I happen to have a fairly deep background in anesthesia med tech.
Right.
And for any of our gurus out there that have ever seen an anesthesiologist at work, it's moments of when that happens, all of a sudden it's just things are moving very quickly, and
Right.
to be able to do that in such a way where they don't have to worry about that type of documentation and that type of interaction you're talking about has got to be really helpful for them.
I certainly have heard that back from them. When we have a group of anesthesiologists as a part of our advisory board, and that's, I think, what they appreciate the most about us is that we're trying to make their jobs a little easier in a world where regulatory compliance pushes them, into so many tasks that take away potentially their ability to really focus on that patient care.
Yeah, amazing. And Tim, many of our gurus out there are innovators, and what I'm hearing is many of them are struggling to gain traction within hospitals these days. And I'm just kind of curious, based on your experience, what's the right way, and maybe even more importantly, the wrong way to approach vendor relationships and build credibility in this space, in this time? Can you provide us any help or insights there?
It's been a challenge. It truly is. Hospital systems are inundated by technology. You go to any technology show around, healthcare, and there's just booth after booth after booth of people doing the best they possibly can to provide services and efficiencies and whatnot for hospital systems. And I asked, we just opened a new office in Columbus, Ohio, back on April 1. And during our ribbon cutting, we brought in some experts within the field, both those that were clients and customers, and those from the industry. And I had a leader for a large hospital system tell me, because we asked him, obviously you get a chance to talk to somebody, you're going to ask him, how do I gain traction within the hospital? And he said, I really want a secret, that the way you can get traction is to find a way to provide the hospital with an ROI showing hard dollar savings while bettering the care that they're giving their patients. Hospital systems are strained, both resource-wise, physical human resources, but also financially. It's a difficult time for hospital systems in general. But if you provide them a way of showing hard dollar savings to their CFOs and boards, that according to him, you'll gain all the traction you need. And it seems simple, right? But once you have that traction, That's where our hard work has to come into play, where you're partnering with that client. You're sharing a bit in the pain of their challenges, either in the way that you set up your finances with that organization and charging for services or whatnot. And this can be one of the ways that we, even the way that we support them, the way that we engage with their teams and include them in validating our roadmaps, the way that our sales and marketing teams advocate for them. Those are areas where you can really prove value and build the trust and keep that traction, which is just as important, I think, as earning it to begin with. It's one thing to show those hard dollar savings, but if it doesn't align with that end, making a safer environment, creating patient care, then you've missed the boat in those areas. So I think that that's both showing those opportunities for hard dollar savings, but also in ways that allow them to be able to spend more time with the patients and less time in those systems that you're creating for them.
Yeah, that's interesting because I think, that type of partnership you're talking about creates not only best practices for you and your team, but I'm thinking helps the hospital and those clinicians build additional best practices within their team. So I can see where that really becomes a solid two-way street, right?
That's always the goal in any of these relationships. As I mentioned early on, all of our product lines come out of the challenges that hospitals have. We're not a build it and they will come type of environment. We want them to be practical, but we also want to lean forward. We realize that, in the 1800s, if you'd ask somebody, what do they want to do to be able to, improve transportation, they'd say, make a faster horse, right? It took somebody coming along and deciding that automobiles were that future for them. So it's a combination of listening to what the actual problems are, not just the, complaints over the systems that they're using now, and how to be disruptive or innovative. And that's a differentiation. I think that it's important when you're going in and providing those opportunities to partner, that you're also looking for ways to solve it in unique ways that maybe you'll solve all their issues or create a whole disruption within the ecosystem.
Yeah, that's phenomenal. And thank you for that. So, Tim, this really seems like an exciting time for you and your team at IntelliGuard. What does the future hold? Where are you going from here?
Well, I was hoping you brought a crystal ball with you to help us there, but what we're finding is that hospital systems continue to have to do more with fewer and fewer resources. As I mentioned early on, that those efficiencies and effectiveness of the systems that we create for them are designed to allow them to have the systems, platforms, automation, and intelligence they need to be future-proof. And do more with fewer resources. And the use of those resources can be done more effectively with the right technologies in place. It's make it better, don't make it more complicated. Automate the workflows, provide transparency across systems, which is probably one of the biggest challenges we see in healthcare right now, is that de-siloing and transparency. And maintain a philosophy of openness and interoperability as we build and partner. We're truly humbled by being able to work with these hospital clients to deliver on that future of healthcare that keeps the patient first, drives innovation and automation, to get ahead of those resource constraints, not just try to keep up with them, but see if we can get ahead of them. And bring medication management and supply chain visibility and transparency to the forefront. DSCSA comes to mind and other things. And we'll keep working to realize that vision that I mentioned at the beginning, which is to create that world where an intelligent information ecosystem empowers healthcare providers to focus on patient-centered care. And as that mission evolves, so will we.
Oh, that's fantastic. It sounds truly an exciting time. So, Tim, first of all, I'd like to acknowledge and thank you for the time and preparation to be our guru today. If somebody wants to learn more about you or your team at IntelliGuard, how do we do that? Is there a website or in social media? How do we find out more?
Sure. So you can find us on, most of the platforms under IntelliGuard. Our website is IntelliGuardHealth.com. And there's a section there to be able to reach out and interact with us. We keep a up-to-date presence on LinkedIn. You can interact with our folks. If you have ideas or thoughts or anything that we can, help other systems that are looking to be able to do better things within this industry we love, we'd love to hear from you.
Oh, that's fantastic. So Tim, once again, thank you so much for being our guru today. We appreciated all the insights that you brought for us.
Thanks, Tom. Appreciate the time to be able to speak with you.
Thank you. Thank you for listening to MedTech Gurus. I am Sylvester Harris, your MC. If you want to learn more about Tom and his consulting services, you can go to www.pctmedical.com or email Tom at tom@pctmedical.com. Now, I can be reached at Sylvester Harris, that's SylvesterHarris 5048@gmail.com, and I'd be pleased to discuss any voiceover work that you may want for your company or broadcast. Hey, thanks so much for listening, and catch us on the next episode of MedTech Gurus.